Welcome to Love and Live Abundantly. Do you want to love more effectively?
You want to live fully and love more courageously. We talk about what all that means and how you can achieve it.
Join us. So, welcome to season 5 of Love and Live Abundantly. We have been in a bit of a learning curve, as well as we have started a vlog. We were all audio before this point. However, now we are video and audio. Yay! And so we wanted to reintroduce ourselves and tell you a little bit more about what we're doing.
Right. And to reinforce the notion that this is a new thing for us and we have a learning curve, I had a notion that at some point that this would happen. That's really good. We really are. This is a learning curve for us, and I have the excuse of being a really old dude, and this technical stuff is not supposed to be easy for me anyway. But this is working out really well, and we've decided to spend the time to learn how to do this because I speak for both of us when I say that we both believe that we are passionate about these things that we're going to be talking about, and that we want to share these things with other people and to have other people talk to us about their life experiences and how they're living more fully and more courageously and how they're enhancing the world around them and the people that they love and the way that they love them. Um, and with that, the thing I need to do is to tell you that I'm Bill Mock, and I have been a private practitioner for over 50 years and in psychology, and I have dealt with relationships and with chemical dependency as my two specialties. And the reason I want to do this with Ilona is because for many years she and I have been discussing uh, many of the issues that we want to bring here and around what it is to live in this world and to try to be happy and to love effectively, and what it means to have folks in our lives that are suffering or in pain, and how we can be a more effective shepherds of our own well-being and of theirs. I think I think that's my total understanding of why we're here, and I'm glad we're here. What do you
Yes,
think, Alon?
yes, I do. And I am Ilona Poka. I am a speaker and coach with Truth Be Told, my business. And I have my bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in women's studies. I am not a licensed professional. That's where Dr. Bill comes in. However, I have, over 20 years experience in personal and professional development, overcoming my own traumas in life, as well as having loved ones that lived with mental illness. And so lots and even my adult trauma, right? My broken leg experience. I don't like to say accident. I feel, things happen for a reason. And so we I feel part of my journey is to, bring more inner peace for people and have a space where we can talk about the things that people aren't necessarily comfortable talking about and make it more of a common conversation to heal and open up your heart and your mind to something new. And just because you experience certain things doesn't mean that has to define your entire life, and you can make different choices to love and live more effectively. And the reason why our title is Love and Live, because I feel that in order to really live abundantly, first you have to love. and you have to love yourself and come from love, and in doing so, then you get to live abundantly. So thank you for joining us.
Yes,
And
and I would remind you that Ilona and I are going to presume and be here every week on Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and that we hope that you will join us on a regular basis. More importantly, I've got it, as importantly at least, is I really hope that you'll contact us and let us know how we're doing, what you want to hear. If you have a witticism, a criticism, whatever, we'd really like to hear that. And I'd like this to be as transactional as possible. If you have questions, if you have comments, please share them with us anytime, every time. Yes?
absolutely, absolutely. We want to hear from you, any questions that you have, any insights you want to share with us. If you'd like to share your experience, if whatever it is, we want to address your needs and concerns as well, instead of, we could talk mental health for forever. However, if we know that there's something specific that you'd like for us to, discuss, we would love to hear from you. And, there's contact information in the platforms. And as well as, you can always send me an email at hello@truthbetold.world. And that's hello@truthbetold.world.
And we'll be presumptuous and tell you that address a lot of different times throughout all of these podcasts, so that we can convince you that we really do mean that we want you to contact us. Yeah. The other thing that I would like for you to know about us is that the notion to do this podcast, this video cast, was very organic, and it wasn't something that was planned, and we didn't get a big government grant, although we're open to that in case that ever happens, if we're ever offered. But it happened, interestingly, behind a phone call. And I have to tell you before I get too much into this that my recollection of this and Ilana's recollection are very different. And I think they both happened. This whole thing reminds me of a thing that my friend was often glad to say, and that was, all of my stories are true, and some of them actually happened. But my recollection of what got us started on this road together was that I was driving along a dark country road with my wife, talking with Ilana on the cell phone in the car. And that she was thinking about doing a podcast and about talking about trauma and about living with people who in your lives that you love, who are suffering from chronic pain of some sort, and that she wanted to do something with it, and that she was looking for someone to do it with, and she just wishes she knew somebody who was like a psychologist or a mental health professional or something. At which point, not to be too pushy about it, I reminded her that I was one of them kind of people, and I was bold and asked her if she would be interested in me joining her, and she frankly said yes, and it's been one of the best experiences I've had in the last 10 years. She handles. I've got to give her kudos. She handles all the technical bits of this, and she tries to explain it to me. Very, God love her, she's patient, and is taking care of all of that. And the reason we're here, even this moment, doing this after several false starts, is because she's been stubborn and stuck to it, and carried me along with her. Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Now,
Bill.
now
Yeah.
tell them your version of it.
So, Bill and I have known each other for 15 years, and he was a real estate client of mine, and him and his wife bought a house with me, and so I knew that he was a licensed therapist. However, he was just he not just, you know, they were my friends, and one of he happened to be a psychologist. It wasn't on the forefront of my mind, and yeah, I remember at one point, I think even before we had talked about the podcast, I was experiencing one of my loved ones that were in a mental health crisis. And, we were at the olive mill, and yeah, we had met there, and I was like, oh my goodness, this. But then I guess between then and when we talked about the podcast, I forgot again that you were a psychologist. So it's been a very it's been very interesting. It's been fun. We've had a lot of laughs. We've, talked about some things that, just people don't necessarily talk about and don't feel in a supportive environment. And especially when it comes to trauma and mental health, and giving people hope to create that love and that peace in their life, the calm in their life, and to know, hearing things that we've experienced in our own personal lives as well as other people in our lives, and to know that there is some light at the end of the road, and to give people hope that it can be different. And so it's been a really great journey to, experience that with Bill. And yeah, we've had a lot of fun and grown our friendship to totally different level than it was before. So he's no longer just my real estate client. He's a dear friend.
That's great to hear. If I can dovetail on what you said, I know that one of the things that we talked about was what you said, and that is let's let people know that they're not alone in their misery. That as Irvin Yalom said, they're not unique in their wretchedness. That this has happened to more than one person in the world, and somebody who looks kind of together. And so maybe you're not so weird or so strange or so hopeless or helpless. That's the kind of support that I hope that we can lend. Yeah, no question. I also hope, and we have talked about this, so I hope I'm not being the Lone Ranger here. I also hope that we're going to offer some techniques, some strategies, some tips on things to do and ways to do them, things to think and feel, and ways to feel better, do better, and so on in your life. And I don't mean for this to be therapy session. I love that Ilona is a coach, and some of the best folks that I know, the most helpful folks I know, really are coaches. I mean, the fact is, if we say here's something that some people have found to be useful or helpful, we're not therapying you. We're not suggesting that this is something you absolutely ought to do. We're just telling you what has happened and what experience has told us works for some folks. But we wanna give you that too. Right?
Yeah.
Also, I want to be absolutely certain that you know that when we share our experiences or the experiences of others, if you hear that that experience is not identical to yours, doesn't mean that yours wasn't awful and debilitating and traumatic. And because it was stronger or weirder or less strong or less weird than yours, doesn't mean that it isn't comparable. We don't want you to compare and to lose sight of your own pain and of the lessons to be learned from other people's pain. Boy, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep on going until somebody stops me. Please stop.
Well, and I think that there's different, they talk about the big T and the little T, right? And the big traumas and the little traumas in life. And it doesn't matter where you fall in there. And I feel like it's also perception. What one person can think is, is trauma or classifies it as a little T could be a big trauma for somebody else. And it's our own perception. However, the one thing that I think all people have in common is that we have all experienced trauma sometime in our life. Wouldn't you agree?
Sure.
I mean, just well, and I think COVID was trauma for all of us, right? The entire world. So even if people want to believe that they didn't experience trauma, COVID affected us in many different ways. And so I, now when I kind of look at people when, a driver wants to flip me off, or, some waitress wants to, or, the people at physical therapy, the woman at the office, she wants to be angry with me. And I think, wow, you've experienced some things in your life, and that's why you're so mean to me.
Or they're just mean people. Let's give folks a break. Folks can choose to be stupid and mean.
They can.
Guys, or they can have a bad day. You got a little bit of gas in your stomach, and you can be grouchy.
Absolutely. But I think that coming from, not getting on the defensive when somebody is just being a jerk to us, that was really my point, right? That they are going through something that, I remember when I was in, broker school, that the teacher had come in and she told us about how on her way to the school that she got pulled over. And she was so upset because the day before she just found out that her husband had cancer. And, so she was making a left-hand turn and didn't necessarily end up in that lane. Right. And so then the police officer pulled her over, and then so she's late to the class, and then there's people in the class that are pissed even after she explained it. And so it's like, just have a little compassion with people. You never know what, they walked away from or experienced,
Mhm.
and however, there are different ways that we can handle things and make a different choice in things. And, you know, and with the solutions and the tools and the techniques that we talk about, throughout this podcast, try them, see what works for you. Some may work for you, some may not. However, having options is a great thing. And, regardless of what it is that you're going through, there's a solution for you. You may need to try a few or 10 or 12, however, there are ways for you to heal and move forward from where you are so that you can create that life that you really want.
That's right. That's the people talk. There's a great deal of talk now. In my career, there have been phases, things that have had a degree of professional and popularity. And trauma has been a big thing now for the last 10 years. People are coming to a real understanding of trauma in our lives and the role in formulating our lives. And one of the points that a good friend of mine who does lectures all over the country about this stuff says that trauma is not a bad thing necessarily. Trauma is a thing that happens to you. That in fact, the enduring negative aspects of trauma can oftentimes have more to do with how you deal with the trauma and how you dealt with the trauma, and whether or not how you dealt with the trauma is the way you're still dealing with things in your life, and whether or not they're effective. So how you dealt with trauma, how you deal with trauma, how is no different from how you dealt with and how you deal with the day-to-day aggravations, like the person who wants to call you names, or that wants to be angry at you no matter what you do, or who wants to flip you off on the road. I've never quite understood that one, especially out where Ilona lives in Phoenix, where everybody's windows are so deeply tinted. What doesn't it lose some of its effectiveness if people can't see it? I mean, what do they have to do? They have to have a skylight so they can put their hand out so that so it has its full effect. Uh, I think that how you deal with that guy flipping you off uh, has as much to do with where you are right this moment as where he was. Um, and the other thing I will say about that is I don't have to know why he's being a fool. I just have to recognize that perhaps I don't have to be a fool in response. And if I have a tendency to do that, maybe there's something I can learn about how to change that behavior that's not helping me a lot. Just rolled. See, I love the way I just kind of ramble on and get into some new train of thought. Um, but if I may, I really would like for us to, at the beginning of every one of these episodes, to start out with a theme and let that theme take us where it will take us. Now, some of those themes Ilona and I have talked about in the past, and I know we're going to revisit. But I would also like for folks who are listening to this to suggest themes. Can you talk about what if I happen to have someone in my life who's a chronic alcoholic? Or can you talk about how to love more effectively? Can you talk about um, here is an issue I've been having in my personal life. Um, can you speak to that? Now, we can't talk to everything that people might bring to us, but we sure would like to have the opportunity. So please feel free.
Absolutely. We want you to be part of the conversation with us.
Absolutely. And by the way, feel free to disagree with us. Where some of the things that we say are not going to be terribly deep or insightful sometimes. Uh, and I really do. I remember that early on when I started doing this work, I was so afraid that I would be wrong, that I would make a mistake, that I would say something out of bounds or stupid or ignorant or whatever. Uh, and a few years back, 35 years ago, uh, a really bright guy by the name of Thomas Fogarty said something that has stuck with me ever since, and really was very freeing to me. And that was he did a study of by looking at people who had been doing helping stuff, physicians, psychologists, social workers, counselors, and so forth, teachers, who had been doing it for years and years and years and years, and who were considered by their peers to be very good at what they did. And then he looked at another group of folks who were just fresh to this whole endeavor, you know, wet behind the ears, as it were. And he endeavored to tell what's the difference between those two groups of people. And one of the things that he discovered that stuck with me, that was so freeing to me, that I will always thank him for, was that the difference between somebody who's brand new to this kind of stuff and someone who's been doing it for a long time is that the people who've been doing it for a long time have an almost professional willingness to ignorance. They have the ability to sometimes say, I don't know, shit, did I get that wrong? Pardon my language, but I sometimes have said that in my past. And that was so freeing to me and I discovered shortly after that if I was willing to say that in sessions with my clients, that all of a sudden my clients thought that I was much wiser and much more intelligent and were much more likely to believe and to buy into anything I said affirmatively. So if I said, I don't know, if I was willing to say, I don't know, then they could have more confidence in the things where I was saying I do know.
Well, yeah, because then you're human, right? I mean, that's human. That's humans being. We don't know it all. And there are
And
some people
and,
that,
and that is the point, that people who are brand new to this try to know it all, think that they have to. Yeah. And that dovetails into what I was saying, and that is that please feel free to, if you think we screwed up or said something wacky or wrong or just ignorant, we sure are open to hearing that too. So, and I hope to tell you that I'm not bashful about correcting something dumb that I've said. So please, part of being transactional with us is having the courage to tell us when we're wrong.
yes, absolutely.
Yep.
We welcome all comments, not just that we're right. We know that people have different opinions and, and we're willing to discuss those as well.
And the truth is that we may speak about some stuff and it comes across in a certain way that we didn't mean for it to, or it comes across and in a limited sort of way, and that you want us to flesh it out. Yes, absolutely. Please. I want Ilona and I to be doing this for a long time, and I want us to be doing it for a long time with you.
Well, we are going to wrap up for today's session. We are right around that half-hour mark. And so today was kind of more of an reintroduction for some of you. Newly on YouTube and the vlog. We're still learning. So thank you again, and I hope that you join us. We hope that you join us Mondays at 6 p.m. Where we will be discussing more. And please, again, chime in. Let us know what you're thinking. Any questions, any things you'd like us to discuss, we would love to hear from you.
You have a good day. Bye.